Hello, everyone. I just want to follow up with the week 2 assignment, which are just some review questions. Let me say, first of all, that there aren't any real right or wrong answers to these questions. They are review questions, questions that ask you to think about issues. So instead of, I'm not giving you the right answers. There are no really right answers. I just want to give you some notion of what I was getting at in the questions, which is more important. So, number one, let's suppose that autonomous vehicles are safer than human-driven ones. Does that mean we should welcome self-driving cars? Why or why not? That question really, the thought behind it was basically asking you whether utilitarian considerations were all that we really needed to think about. That is, if we do just take it for on hypothesis at least, take it as given that autonomous vehicles will result in fewer accidents. Does that mean we should just welcome self-driving cars with open arms? And I think if you're strictly utilitarian, you have to say yes. I think, or maybe there are long-term considerations, utilitarian considerations, very long-term ones you might say that aren't that need to be taken into account, like possible negative outcomes in the future. But I was really thinking, that from a Kantian point of view, it might just be bad because it might be that any algorithm, like if you were to actually institute any algorithm that would make choices about whether people lived or died in a certain accident situation, it might be a violation of the second version of the categorical imperative, even if on utilitarian grounds it saved more lives, it prevented more injuries. It may be that on Kantian grounds, it is indefensible, it's unsupportable. Number two, do you agree with the democratic approach that the moral machine experiment takes to the question of programming autonomous vehicles? Why or why not? It's an open-ended question. I suppose the important thing there is that I make myself clear what I mean by the democratic approach. I hope that I did in the videos about the thing. The week's materials. What I meant was it's a survey, and the idea behind the moral machine experiment is that whatever the programming is of autonomous vehicles in accident situations, that it should reflect what people's choices actually are. That's why I'm calling it the democratic approach, because the idea, I suppose, is that we should canvass as many individuals as possible and get their ideas about what kind of choices should be made. By definition, I suppose that's a democratic approach, because it's saying, well, whatever the people want, that's what we should do. And it may be the right way to go about it, but it may be the wrong way to go about it. It may be that this democratic approach is based on a fallacy. That is, it simply doesn't follow that the right thing to do is what most people think is the right thing to do. That's what I was really getting at there. And finally, when you took the moral machine survey, were you surprised by any of the results? Obviously, I'm just asking you, whether or not when it sort of tabulated whatever it did at the end there, when it actually told you sort of what category you fell into or how your answers were, trending. Did it surprise you that you sort of fell into those categories that you did?